everybody. Welcome back to a brand new episode of Who the Fuck Cares? With me, Who the Fuck Cares, and my co-host, Who the Fuck Cares?
It's an odd way to start the podcast.
Now, welcome to a new episode of our podcast, Hello, I'm Listening.
Did you have to take a little longer to say the name because you forgot what the name
No,
was?
I actually read something on the phone as I said to. We're back with a new episode, everybody.
Is this a new episode?
It is
Perchance?
It's actually a new episode.
And are we back?
And we're back. Son of a bitch. Okay, no, but we are back with a new episode. That's what's happening right now.
How many more times can... That should be a drinking game. How many times Woifi says we're back with a new episode?
You know what should be a
beginning
drinking
of every
game?
episode.
Danielle's moving on the chair and how the chair cracks the whole time.
Wait, I barely move.
Should we switch chairs?
No. But you don't hear it right now, do you?
I just heard it.
That was you. You moved.
Ah!
So what is that? I barely move.
Should we switch chairs quick?
I don't even know what it is. I'm literally not moving. I'm moving my normal way, like when I talk.
Maybe you...
See, I didn't move.
You're doing something. Let's just switch chairs.
Again, did not move. You were looking at me.
What are you doing?
The chair's just squeaky. Every
that's
teeny
what it
tiny
is.
movement. It would happen with you too.
No.
No, on this chair.
No, because I'm not moving back and forth.
Yeah, but it takes the teeniest movement. You move a little when you talk.
Then maybe don't lean back, just sit up straight.
Nah, that's uncomfortable.
No, sit up straighter, I mean.
That doesn't help. I did that the last time too.
That's technical difficulties we have to face every time because Danielle is making noise.
You know, when you talk, when everybody talks, your ribs move because your lungs are moving.
No, look, I'm not moving my lips. My ribs.
Yeah, and that would be a really great way to have the podcast.
Yeah, then let's switch chairs and try it. Let's just wait. I give you my chair. So, okay. I'm on Danielle's squeaky chair now. And Danielle is on my chair now. So let's see if my chair squeaks.
Yeah, let's see.
I don't hear anything.
I didn't do anything yet.
No, on that chair.
Why does it only squeak when I sit on it?
Exactly.
We'll hear it at some point.
Okay, so sorry for that interruption. That's I'm going to shorten it so it won't be as long as it was in real time. So you're welcome, listener. Ah, that's good coffee. Ich habe mir einen Kaffee gemacht. Käffchen. What are you looking at?
A little bird.
Close the shade.
No.
Danielle.
So, what are we talking about?
So I have to say that I'm a little disappointed in you.
Me?
Yes. And I have to address it on the podcast because I want people to hear your reaction to it too for the first time. So you can't bullshit anything.
Okay.
Yeah. And I have to say, the last couple of weeks you've been slacking a little bit with the podcast.
Yeah?
Yeah. I'm disappointed a little bit. I've been pulling those episode it's the fucking because you put your legs up there.
They were not up there before.
Okay. I've been pulling the weird ideas for the episodes out of my ass. And you're like, I don't know what we should do. And I'm like, yeah, me neither. But
what do you mean the last weeks? I came up with an episode in the last weeks.
like what?
I don't remember which one. Yeah, my memory right now is shit. You can't ask me what episode I did in the last weeks, but I remember coming up with an episode in the last weeks.
Okay. Yeah. Just so the listener knows that we are not always on par in terms of what we put out there. And we're also aware that some episodes are shit. Not like shit,
I
but
wouldn't say
compared
any
to
episodes
others.
are shit.
Right, that's what I mean. But compared to others, certain episodes are not as great. Let's just say it like that.
Okay.
I don't know what you did.
What are you talking? Why is everything on me right now?
No. I'm just looking. The ChatGPT was your idea.
That was
true.
not partly my idea. That was my idea.
Yeah, it was a great
I know.
idea. But that was like at the beginning of May, Danielle.
But it was my idea, not partly. You don't get to take credit for any of that episode.
That's it, though.
No, the episode with my mom.
That's not true. I said I want her back, and you basically came up with the idea of what we should do. Also, that's a spoiler, Danielle. The people don't know that we didn't.
They didn't say what the episode was about.
Yeah, so everybody, next week's episode. Oh, wait, are we releasing? Yeah. Next week's episode will be with Danielle's mom again. And
because she's awesome.
She is awesome. She's pretty funny.
Yeah, but that's also not fair. You can't just say it was your idea to have her on. Okay, great. You wanted to have her back, but I came up with the topic idea.
Yeah, my initiate.
Yeah, but you just said that I'm not contributing, and I just contributed.
Okay, good.
So
we're past the 7 minutes now.
No, it's a little unfair. It's a little unfair. Did you hear your chair just make a sound?
No, that was actually my thing. No, I know, but partly why I started this thing was because I know that the episode is not going to be super long, so I thought a longer intro would be more interesting.
So you just wanted to throw me under the bus and piss me off purely for time wasting.
Nah, content, Danielle. Purely for content. Yeah.
Yeah, but you realize that the way that you do that makes me not even want to record the podcast now? So, I have zero motivation now to do it because you start off by criticizing me. I like that you laugh, but I'm being serious.
Then I do it alone. It's okay.
Uh-huh.
That's you.
No, it was not. That was you. I'm moving quite a bit and my chair's not making sound. That was you.
Oh, yeah.
See?
Oh, yeah, it's true.
Uh-huh.
Might have to put the screws in tighter. I don't know. It's weird. Okay. I try not to move much, so...
So let's just back up here. When I'm sitting in the chair and it's making noise, you're like, what are you doing?
Maybe,
why are you moving so much?
You know what could be?
And then you sit in the chair and make noise and you're like, oh, maybe I need to fix the chair. You son of a bitch.
Danielle, that's why I said let's try it, because I didn't know and we switched chairs and now I know.
I mean, you could have just trusted me when I said it's not
but
my fault.
I'm from scientific nature. I need to test things, you know.
Can someone come pick me up, please? And
everybody's like, nope, sorry, nobody's picking you up now. Okay, let's get to the topic. So I thought it would be fun to talk about.
See, you make it seem like you come up with all these ideas, but then you're not even excited to do the ideas that you come up with.
You know, let's just quickly back up a little bit to
please.
When I had the idea initially. Okay. So actually, I stole the idea from a podcast I wanted to do with a friend, and it never came to fruition. So, and I kind of liked the idea. I mean, everybody knows already because maybe that's the episode's title. Maybe it changes now completely. But I thought it would be kind of fun. But then at the same time, you're like, is it really fun or is it just fun in my head? Or the thing is, I mean, you know that you come up with an idea for a podcast and sometimes it's rare that we are so good already that it's rare for us. But sometimes it happened we talk about something and in our head it sounds super awesome and interesting, and then in real life and when we do it, it's not exciting or too short because we run out of the sauce quickly, you know. It's what podcast people say. The content is the sauce.
Sure.
Yeah, it's all made of sauce.
Sure. Is that what people say?
Yeah, we're podcasting people. You should know that.
I don't.
It's
know.
podcasting slang.
Okay.
It's, everything's sauced together. You can say it's a sauce soup.
That's not a thing.
Yeah, it's a thing. It's a soup, but it's sauce.
Then it's just sauce.
No, but there are other things in the sauce, like actually like potatoes and stuff.
So it's a stew.
It's technically it's a stew. Okay, so today's episode. Oh man, today's episode. I thought it would be fun to talk about shows that we watched as kids, especially maybe comparing. The thing is, I don't know many kids shows nowadays. I know some because we know some of them purely based on what our Ramses is watching, and you've seen some when you were working as a nanny that were still a little weird. But yeah, do you have one in mind that you want to start with?
My all-time favorite, Sesame Street.
Yeah, but I thought shows that like specifically were around in the 90s, like made for the 90s.
Sesame Street.
Yeah, but they were around way longer than that, right?
Yeah, but I watched it throughout my whole childhood.
Okay. Do you know when it started?
I don't. 70s maybe?
Oh, you have great. That's the thing you should look up actually. 1969.
Yeah.
Jim Henson started with the Sesame Street. That's fucking insane. And how many seasons are there?
It's still going.
Yeah, I know. How many seasons are there?
Over 30.
53 seasons.
Yeah.
Over 30. Yeah, if it's still going.
You sure? That's why I said over 30.
Math.
Because I'm over 30.
Simple math. That's fucking crazy.
Yeah. But it's a great show because now I feel like it's not as good as it was when I was younger.
That's the thing. That's not true though, because it's not made for you.
No. I mean in the sense of how much learning there is versus how much like just kind of weird nonsense there is. It's definitely still one of the best in terms of like learning things.
But isn't there still learning?
Yeah, they're still learning. But not to the extent I don't feel like episodes that I've seen, it's not to the extent that it was when I was younger. Like when I was younger, everything was, the whole show was you were learning something. So there was always a shape of the day. There was a letter of the day. Sometimes there was a word of the day.
Yeah. And I don't know. Sometimes I feel like as you look back at those things that are so vividly that live so vividly in your memory, and you kind of idolize them to an extent where you compare it to the form to, like, if it's like with The Simpsons, it's the same thing. A lot of people say, oh, The Simpsons back then was so great. And
but
partly that's true because of the writers and stuff who were around back then, but it's still a great show because it just, moved with the zeitgeist. And also it's technically Simpsons are not targeted at us anymore. So and I think it's the same with Sesame Street though.
Yes and no. I mean, it is. And I do appreciate that they change a lot with the times. So and they've always been that way. They've always been super open and super
They had to though. I mean, if it's running for 50 years.
Yeah, but there are still a lot of things that they didn't have to address, but they still do. So they address race things. They address things like gender. They address so many different things that they address on that show that it's so wonderful. But there are some things that started after I was watching it, like Elmo's World is like a section that's part of it, where it's kind of just dumb. Like, I feel like there might be some little things that you learn, but it's kind of just dumb.
Sure, there has to be an aspect that is just purely for entertainment. But
I feel like there's more of that than there was when I was a kid. Okay. It's just what I feel like. But I still think it's a great show, and you learn so much with it. And they really teach kids how to just be good humans. And it's plus, learning the alphabet and numbers and things like that. It's really nice. The thing is, I have so many, but I would like to, I don't know. Let's start with Pinky and the Brain. Ooh, yeah.
Started in 1995, and I think it was one of the coolest, weirdest show from the Warner Brothers Animaniacs department.
Amazing.
Division. And if you have not seen it, it's about two rats, or two mice, two white lab mice. And one is Brain, who is very smart, hence the name. And one is Pinky, who is Narf. Who is like the more simple one. He's not dumb, but he's pretty simple.
He's so dumb.
He's pretty sweet because Brain always asks him, and Pinky, do you think what I think? And
it's like, Pinky, are you thinking what I'm thinking?
And Pinky's always answering in this weird ways where like, who the fuck comes up with that? Like, yes, Brian, but how do we get the squirrels to wear all the
No. That's the best. It's the best one. It's like, are you thinking what I'm thinking? Yeah. And Pinky's like, I think so, Brain. But how do we get the chickens to wear the nylons?
Like all those random things. Like what the fuck?
Brain is basically, his whole thing is he wants to take over the world. So he's this small little lab mouse that basically never leaves the lab, but he wants to take over the world. But the cool thing about the show is there's history lessons. So it's like there's always some sort of historical story that they tell.
Not always, but most of the time, there's...
I think every episode there's a historical story. They relate it to some sort of historical event. Mm-hmm.
I feel like there are some episodes where they're just in the lab and they have to fight off like some people who want to kill them and stuff. I think
it's always a historical event.
Okay. Yeah. But it was a fun show, and Warner Brothers Animaniacs, I mean, they had some really cool, weird shows.
I mean, even Animaniacs was weird.
Yeah, totally.
But fun.
I mean, and Animaniacs, I mean, there are other like in that era, like, I don't know, Rocko's Modern Life, for example, or Recess came a little later. Recess, yeah.
Woof,
Cat
I loved
Dog.
That show.
Sabrina, the Teenage Witch. I mean, come on, that's like a...
Why are you like just going through a massive list right now? We have things to talk about.
I just named some where we maybe not talk about that much about them.
I mean, Sabrina was...
That's a great show.
All time. That was like the one I ran home from school to make sure I was home on time.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you like Harvey?
Yeah, sure. I liked Harvey.
Harvey. The love interest of
Sure.
Sabrina. And you, for so long, they're just friends and you never know, are they going to end up an hour or not?
Harvey. That was a great show. Another, when I was, I mean, the thing is I watched a lot of like cartoon shows that were more meant for younger children. I watched them as I got older too because I just loved them so much.
Like what?
Arthur is my next one.
Arthur, which was one that...
You don't know Arthur? I'll show you a picture.
Oh yeah, no, I've never watched that. That's like for babies.
1996. 25 seasons.
Oh, wow.
Yes, really popular show.
Fuck me.
Yeah. It's a weird concept because they're all like different animals. So like he's an aardvark, and there's rabbits, and there's Francine. I don't know what Francine is. I feel like they all started with like Arthur the aardvark and something like that. So it was always like kind of a combo. But it was a sweet show. It was just like he's like a fourth grader, and I was a fourth grader when I started watching that show. So it just kind of, you felt, you kind of connected to the characters a little bit.
You're like to mom, Mommy, am I an aardvark too? Your mom's like, no, shut up, woman.
There's one episode where Arthur like tries to do a rap, and he's spelling aardvark. And I never forgot how to spell aardvark because I remembered the rap. Aardvark.
The next one I would like to say is Gummy Bears, the Disney show.
You're alone on that one.
I know.
Buddy.
Even though the thing is, it's not super great, but in my
memory, that you say Arthur's for babies, and then you come out with Gummy Bears.
It wasn't for babies. Come on.
And neither was Arthur.
Yeah. I mean, I've never watched it, so I can't really say. Yeah. But the Gummy Bears, they live so vividly in my memories. I loved that show, and it's so stupid. It's like actual gummy bears who drink that juice and bounce around, and then that's how they defeat the I think it's like trolls or something. Only 6 seasons. It's a very typical Disney show, but alone the theme song is so iconic. Yeah. Another one?
Yeah, I have to find out when it came out though. Before.
I mean, there's this one show. I don't know if you had it in the US. It was called what was it called? Edwin something with a duck. Fuck.
The duck.
Yeah, there's this duck. I mean, DuckTales. While we are at the
DuckTales is good.
DuckTales is a great show, and even the new one is actually. I mean, it's not made for us, but it's actually decent, and the animation is pretty good. But yeah, that was not the show I meant.
The one I was thinking of, I don't think I watched it super long. Maybe I did, but it's called The Big Comfy Couch.
Yeah.
And it's a Canadian show. And the main character's name is Lunette.
What the fuck?
Yeah, it was only 7 seasons. It didn't last super long. Wait, I show you a picture because it's weird as hell.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's real bonkers. And she had like a massive couch. That's why it's called the Big Comfy Couch.
Oh, no.
And so it made her look really small, even though she's a full-grown adult woman. And so I think she's like supposed to play like a kid. It's very weird.
Okay.
I don't honestly remember anything that it was about. I know there was singing, there was dancing, but I honestly don't remember what it was about otherwise. If there was any purpose to it, I just remember there was like a cleanup song where she cleaned up super, super fast at the end of the episode. And I always sang it when I cleaned up at home.
And that's how they drilled you to clean up after you.
Yeah. But I don't remember anything else about it. I feel like it was brainwashing.
That's fun.
It was a weird show.
The show I meant was Alfred J. Quack. I mean, you have seen it maybe somewhere. I mean, you have not seen it because it's a Dutch-Japanese animated show.
Yeah.
So coming from Dutch, but it was animated in Japan as most of those cartoons were back then because they were just better at it. And it's a very dark show partly. It's about a duck who looks for his father, and his father is a mole. So he's adopted. And there are a lot of very dark aspects surrounding the whole character. Yeah, it's pretty good, and I liked like the guy who made that series, Herman van Veen, made some other very yeah.
This is maybe this beats Sesame Street for me. I didn't think of it right away, but my all-time favorite children's show is Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood.
Yeah, sure. That's
all-time
that you
favorite.
didn't say that the first time.
It started in 1968 and went for 31 seasons,
which is nuts.
And all the seasons are with Fred Rogers.
He did all of them. Yeah.
It was such a thoughtful. I to this day still see Fred Rogers as the most beautiful human being ever to have lived on the planet.
There's a good documentary about him, and the movie with Tom Hanks was decent good, too.
But the documentary about, what is it called? Won't You Be My Neighbor?
Won't You Be My Neighbor? Yeah,
absolutely brilliant.
It's very good.
But it was so thoughtful, and so like he treated children like adults. You know, it was the only series that around for kids that really did not treat kids like little kids. He talked to you like a person, you know, and he always talked to the camera, so to the person. Yeah. And it was so personal because he used words like you. I hope that you have a great, he was always talking directly to you.
Yeah.
And he was so honest about things. Like he was so open about so many issues that even adults were facing in the world, and anxieties and sadness and death. And
he was very, very provocative and also
forward thinking.
Yeah.
But he also was like super into imagination, and he had this whole segment of his show where it was like in Imagination Land and with like puppets, and he did all the voices for the puppets, and it actually created a spin-off called Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood, which is one of my favorite kid shows now. Yeah. So it's lovely. It's one of those shows that I want to get like all the seasons for my kid.
I watched Heidi a lot. Do you know Heidi?
Heidi.
Yeah.
I don't think we had Heidi, but I know Heidi.
It's a Japanese show again, but based on like the Heidi Years of Wandering and Learning by Joanna Spiri. And it was pretty massive here, considering, Heidi Alps, stuff like that. So the whole setting is basically, I think it's Switzerland, or it's Swiss.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was a very fun show, and I've watched it a lot. The thing is, it's interesting because all of those shows are considered, what is it called? The Japanese cartoon style,
anime.
So those are all animes, and like people who watched all those shows and say now they don't like animes, they're full of shit. Basically. Yeah.
One that my brother and I, so we didn't have cable when I was a kid.
We didn't either. We only had 2 or 3.
Yeah. So we had like the public TV stations. Yeah. And so we didn't have cartoons every day. And so I never had like Nickelodeon or anything until I was probably in high school when my dad got cable at some point. Yeah. But until then, it was like Saturday morning cartoons, because every Saturday morning they would air some cartoons that normally aired on cable, and it was like all morning on Saturdays. Mm-hmm. And that was the time my brother and I watched The Batman, the animated series.
Oh, the animated, okay. Mm-hmm.
From 1992. Fucking brilliant. The show was so good, and all of the there's tons of spin-offs of it, obviously, but it was such a good show. We also would watch sometimes the Batman series with Adam West.
Adam West, yeah.
That was also phenomenal. It was on once in a while on TV on Saturdays usually, but Saturday morning Batman was like where it was at.
On Saturdays, usually like early in the morning, like 7 or 8 something, they played a lot of old Disney cartoons, so Donald Duck and Mickey Mouse, like from the 50s and 40s.
Cool.
And I used to watch them like a lot. I loved the like those 5-minute story clips.
Yeah, the little shorts.
The little shorts of Donald and Mickey and all those classic characters. I love to watch those classic
like the
cartoons.
one. Did you ever watch the ones that had like what were they called? I mean, like the one I show you all the where I laugh every single time with Bugs Bunny.
Yeah. I mean, Bugs Bunny is not Disney, but sure. I mean,
that's Warner Brothers, but there's Bugs Bunny always made us laugh when we watched stuff like that, or we watched there was I can't remember what it was, but there's one with like a dog and he had a flea on him, and it's like this whole there's no talking in those, it's just pure, it's just music. And
it's just music. It's just slapstick music.
It's like classical music. There's actual classical music.
No, that's what I mean. The whole character.
And they write the animations to fit the music, and it's so amazing.
The animation.
The whole Elmer Fudd thing. Elmer Fudd had like a show.
Yeah.
And it was like a clip show, basically.
Yeah. No, totally.
We loved that.
Another thing that just came into my mind is Blinky Bill. You know what Blinky Bill?
Blinky Bill.
Oh yeah, Blinky Bill is so cool.
Is he a fish? It sounds like he'd be a fish.
No, it's not. It's called The Adventures of Blinky Bill. And he's a koala.
Oh, he's cute.
with little red trousers. And that show came out in 1993, Australia, obviously. Mm-hmm. And it's mischievous koala Blinky Bill and his friends search for fun and adventure in the fictional Australian country town of Green Patch. Mm-hmm. And it was actually a fun show. I really, really liked to watch the show. And apparently, I just see that, it's based on a book, and the book is from 1933. Mm-hmm. So it's pretty old.
There were around when we were kids there. I don't know if it was the same here, but in the US there were a lot of shows that originated from books. Like Babar. Babar was a really big show. I think it's British, but Babar was a big show that came from a book. The Berenstain Bears. Berenstain Bears.
Here as well.
Was also a book. I mean, tons of books, but a lot of that stuff. Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah, it's interesting compared, like, I can't even say something to the extent of modern kid shows, because I don't know any and I don't watch any, so I can't even judge them. But from what I, growing up, from what I know, is that like back in the day, some kid shows were so well crafted, and you could see that there was not only spent like tons of hours animating them, like drawing them by hand, basically, if it's like a Japanese style series, but also the stories and everything was like so well thought through, and everything it felt like back then, or looking at it now, everything had a purpose.
Yeah.
in the story and the characters. And there are so many more shows, like for example, As the Animals, what was it called? The Animals Leave the Woods or something. That's such a great show. Als die Tiere den Wald verließen.
And there were so many good shows when we were younger. I agree with you. I feel like the shows when we were kids had so much more substance and
the
so
Animals
much
of
more.
Farthingwood. Do you know that one?
Show me a picture.
It's such a great show, and it's basically...
It looks familiar.
It's basically about those animals, a group of animals who...
There's a skunk in there? Or a badger or something?
There's a badger in there.
Yeah, I watched that show.
I think it's a British show. Let me look. European Broadcasting Union. So I think it came... BBC original. Yeah. And it's basically about animals threatened by drought and human attempt to reach new home in a wildlife sanctuary. And it's basically just the point of view of animals running away 3 seasons long to finally get to like a sanctuary where they can live in peace. And it's a very traumatizing show from what I remember, because it's basically, you see the bulldozers and the humans from the point of the animals, and we're just monsters in their eyes, destroying their wildlife and their sanctuary, like their natural habitat. And shows like that, I don't know if shows like that are still around. I don't know.
I would assume so, but probably not as much. The thing is, so much of what kids watch today is, I mean, I think more kids watch things on YouTube than they do like an actual show, Netflix, even if it's on Netflix YouTube, or something. Yeah. But I think there's more YouTube, and so much of the stuff that kids are drawn to is pure nonsense, it's like pure brain cell killing nonsense. Yeah. Where it's like you're already kind of killing brain cells when you're staring at a screen. Yeah. But you could at least be watching something that might bring you something or might teach you something. But so much that's produced today is just like, we want kids to watch this. Right. We want to get views, and it's nonsense. It's all nonsense.
It's basically just noise the whole time to keep them attached. Yeah.
It's so crazy. Kind of going along with that, I feel like the equivalent to that for our generation, granted, there were some nice things about it, and it was funny, and there were some, but you didn't learn a lot from it. Yeah. SpongeBob SquarePants.
I mean, SpongeBob, when did it start? In the
99.
99, okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a little later. Yeah, sure. I mean, SpongeBob, the thing is, I never really liked him.
I loved SpongeBob.
I watched like the early couple of seasons a little bit, not all of them, but I was never really a big fan.
The thing is, I didn't start watching it until high school. And so, and by that time I was also smoking pot, so it made a difference. But it's funny. I mean, I think it's funnier as like a teen young adult than it is as a kid watching it, because the jokes are actually pretty intelligent, and it's just funny. It's nonsense, but it's funny. I mean, and it's well written. I loved
the first movie. I loved the first movie. I watched it so many times because it's so stupid. Yeah. And there are just so many great moments about it. But yeah, I don't know. I was never really a fan of the show, I have to say.
Yeah. I really liked the show once I started it, but just because the jokes are, I feel like they're underappreciated how funny that show is. But I think it's so cool that the creator, Steven Hillenburg, is literally a marine biologist. Like,
he's actually a smart person.
A scientist, and who studied marine biology and the ocean and the life forms in the ocean. Yeah. And then he created this show about underwater creatures, and I just find it so funny. I love it.
I don't want to go past the 2000s because there's so many more shows, but I mean, Simpsons already kind of counts because they started in the 80s. And the thing is, I wasn't allowed to watch The Simpsons up to a certain point where my parents said, okay, fuck it. Mm-hmm. But I loved watching The Simpsons. I still do love watching The Simpsons, especially the old ones, but not because I think they're necessarily better, but I just have so many good memories about certain episodes. And
for me, and I might get some crap for this, I feel like Family Guy has aged better than The Simpsons has.
I mean, simply because Family Guy was always made for adults. Yeah. And so growing into like watching it when you were a teenager, almost like 19, 20 maybe, you love that humor even more. Yeah. And now it's still growing with you as an adult. With The Simpsons,
it's meant for younger generations, and it's always been meant for younger. I mean, I think it actually kind of started being made for adults.
Sure, it was meant, right, that's true. It was meant
and
to
be... And it evolved to, I think it probably happened because younger generations were watching, and so they wanted that generation to relate to the episodes.
The only thing is, and that's still true with The Simpsons as well, they have jokes in there that are meant for adults.
Sure.
Like jokes that go over kids' heads, obviously, but in the true sense, The Simpsons are for teenagers, basically.
Yeah.
And you can feel that. But
I like the consistency of Family Guy. I mean, it started in the 90s, and I like the consistency of it, that it's been not only consistently funny, there hasn't really been a season that's been like,
that's
meh.
True. It's
true. Consistently on par. And like with The Simpsons, for me, I mean, it again goes back to that, it's not really made for us anymore, but we're still seasons of The Simpsons where I'm like, meh. Not that great.
Yeah, I think part of that, I don't want to go into the whole thing, but I think part of it is because Seth MacFarlane is still the head, not the head writer, but the head.
Well, and he's still so involved because he's so many voices.
Right, he's still so involved in everything, and he overlooks everything, and so it still is consistent because of that. And with The Simpsons, of course, they had so many millions writers during the run. Yeah. And of course, some seasons or some episodes are not as great. Yeah.
But I think it also has to do with my type of humor is more like pushing boundaries. I like when boundaries get pushed with humor. And The Simpsons doesn't do that too much. It does it, but not like Family Guy or like South Park, doesn't
and also
do it like that.
I mean, the craziness. I mean, The Simpsons are crazy, but only to an extent. They don't go further, and Family Guy steps above everything. Mm-hmm. Like there's no boundary they don't step over because simply they can do anything.
Yeah.
Which in that alone makes it way more interesting of storytelling wise, because The Simpsons, at some point you have seen almost everything that Simpsons have to offer. I mean, it's 36 seasons now or 37, something like that. Which is crazy. I kind of just want to stop here because we could talk about it forever. But there is a function in Spotify. If you're listening from Spotify, you can just type in, like there's a little question thing. You can type in what show you like to watch. Or maybe there was a show that we mentioned that you loved as well. We would love to hear that. Or head over to our Instagram and text us. And if you like what you hear, subscribe, follow, or whatever. Rate the podcast. And if you want to really support us financially, you can go to our Patreon where Joe is waiting.
Hey Joe.
And that's it.
That's it.
Goodbye.
Watch out for deer.